The last man did not offer his hand. He's busy sulking. He wore a black duster that hung open. Of course he does. Worn jeans, a black t-shirt, and scuffed boots put him at the other end of the clothes spectrum from Leo. But clothes would never define this man. He'd moved to the dimmest area of the room where shadows cast the planes of his face into mysterious layers of light and dark, and his eyes were ... Terrifying came to mind. They blazed with so many emotions that Jenna wanted to hold her hands in front of her to block the force of his stare. No, glare was a better description. Finn stepped into the uncomfortable silence. This is Al. He didn't have a good night. Jenna widened her eyes. She hoped she looked suitably naive and stupid. You didn't find any lost souls to save? How sad. For a moment, a predatory gleam lit his eyes, and then he smiled. Jenna forgot to think. She forgot to blink. She forgot to breathe. She knew smiles, all the things they said and didn't say, all the ways they could manipulate. In the hands of a master, a smile could be the ultimate weapon. It could persuade, compel, destroy. And Jenna was looking at a master. A woman would crawl on her hands and knees to a man with that smile. It was a soul-stealing, sensual lifting of his lips, all savage beauty and frightening secrets. Is this the same smile as earlier, the baring of the teeth? The sensual lifting of the lips? I'm also kind of picturing a sort of I know we rate these things and they sound good, but if you think about them too much, it gets a little Jack Nicholson, you know? I can't. We found everything we were looking for tonight. On that cryptic note, he turned and walked from the room. Probably going to go practice his savage beauty smile. Gee, it was great meeting you too, she muttered to his retreating back. Final thoughts. His tied-back hair fell a lot lower on his back than she'd expected, and she'd been so mesmerized by the emotion in his eyes that she hadn't noticed their color. This is super important, you guys. How are you going to know he's your soulmate unless you know the color of his eyes? True facts, as dictated by romance novels. The silence dragged on for a few beats too long, perhaps because super awkward. Then Finn walked over to lay his hand on her shoulder. She controlled her instinctive flinch. The room next to your sister's is empty. I'll have someone take care of your bags. Jenna nodded. I appreciate it. She glanced to where Ty had joined Kelly on the couch. This must be a hell of a condo if there are 11, 12, and now 13 people in it. And it's overlooking the river, I believe it said, and they have an extra room. Possibly several extra rooms. There's also servants that live here. Like, how much money do they have? I mean, I can understand if you were a mystical being and you have lots of power, but does this guy have mystical power over, like, Wall Street? I have so many questions. Ty grinned at her. We're glad you could visit. Kelly needs someone to go out and do stuff with. Jenna raised an eyebrow. Interesting. Why didn't Ty do stuff, that's in quotation marks, with his new bride? I don't think that's what he meant, Jenna. I think the stuff that he's doing with her is not something you should be doing with your sister. Oh, Christ. She wondered if Kelly still drove the mean streets with him while he looked for souls to save. If so, she'd evidently taken tonight off. What Ty's trying to say, in his own male way, is that I need someone to go clothes shopping with. For the first time since Jenna walked into the condo, Kelly sounded amused. Okay. Yes, well, I can do that. Jenna ignored Leo, who'd flung himself onto a chair, instead aiming a comment at Finn. Okay, wait, what? Who's talking? Okay, Leo's not talking. He just, collapsed onto a chair for no apparent reason, and that was a very important part of the narrative. This is an incredible condo. He strode over to the window and gazed out at the city. I chose it because it overlooks Rittenhouse Square. Not much of a park, but I like to be near trees. Okay, so not the river, but a park. Jenna could see him watching her in the window's reflection. This must cost a fortune. Left unasked was, where the hell would a missionary get that kind of money? A rude comment. Too bad. She'd learned one important thing during the 3 years she'd spent writing for The Scene. You only got good answers when you asked questions that made people squirm. Besides, she'd asked this guy what color shorts he wore if that's what she needed to know to keep Kelly safe. I have a trust fund. There was laughter in his voice. And they're white. She could see his smile reflected in the glass. Creepy. White? No, he couldn't have. Her knees felt a little rubbery. She resisted the need to sit down. If you don't mind, I think I'll head for my room. It's been a long night. Turning away from Finn, she aimed what was probably a sickly grin at her sister, and she was definitely not running away, for the record. Not running away, just temporary retreat. Very important distinction. Kelly looked troubled. Sure, maybe we'll go shopping in the afternoon. Ty smiled. I'll grab your bags. He leaned over to kiss Kelly before rising from the couch. Jenna chalked one up for his side. He wasn't afraid to show affection toward Kelly in front of everyone. Okay, that's all right. That's legit. Some guys and girls won't. So, she could see why her sister had fallen for Ty and Decca. I need to look up that word. That feels like it should be some sort of double meaning. Because goodness knows all of their names are. With that dark hair and those gray eyes, he was a great-looking guy. She chanced a quick glance at Finn, even if he did have a strange boss. Kelly wasn't smiling. She was worried. It was there in the crease between her eyes, the way she had pressed her lips into a thin line, and how she avoided looking directly at her sister. Jenna tucked that fact away for further investigation. Maybe she's just upset that you, totally didn't tell her that you were coming. Maybe she was about to go on vacation. You don't know? Finn finally turned from the window. I hear you thought Ty was a vampire when Kelly first met him. He was still smiling. Well, that was embarrassing. She glanced away from those silver eyes. Sometimes I let my imagination get away from me. I guess it was the whole mysterious, only working at night thing, along with some unexplained emotional hits her sister had taken when Ty was near. So those are definitely red flags. Jenna didn't believe in vampires, werewolves, or alien abductions, but she never stopped hoping one would prove her wrong. In her line of work, fame and fortune were only one ET sighting away. Suddenly, Finn was beside her. She hadn't seen or heard him move. She controlled a startled squeak. Wow, Finn, you're teleporting? Right in front of people? Your imagination needs an upgrade, Jenna. You have to think outside the box. Is this condescending to anyone else? They just met. His murmur made her want to shrink away from him, and because there was no reason for her reaction, she forced herself to meet his gaze. Sorry, I'm not too creative. Vampires at the top of my woo-woo list. Maybe we'll have to widen your horizons then. He sounded thoughtful and completely serious. Sure, we'll do that. As she followed Ty from the room, Jenna knew she was in full retreat. Finn was too beautiful, too strange, too unearthly? Okay, so he scared her. A short time later, as she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Jenna was still thinking about the men she'd met. Once Kelly and she were away from this condo, she'd wring the truth from her sister, because there was nothing missionary-like about these guys. Any lost souls with a lick of sense would run and hide if they saw Finn and his crew coming. That's what she'd do. She finally fell asleep on the promise that tomorrow she'd check out Al's eye color. Because priorities. Not worrying about this creepy guy who clearly is creeping you out and knows he's creeping you out and continues to creep you out despite saying the contrary. Yes, let's focus on the man-child who left the room so abruptly. Yes, priorities. Good, excellent. That was the end of chapter 1. We'll do chapter 2, and we'll see how long these are going to take. After chapter 2, I am not really going to know what's going on, so beforehand, I mean. So we'll see. This is going to be interesting. Please bear with me, and I hope that you have fun.